Welcome to another edition of The Leaders. I'm Yuli Ismartono from AsiaViews in Islamabad, Pakistan. Pakistan is the world's second largest Muslim country in terms of population after Indonesia. Yet contrary to common perception, Islam in Pakistan is one of enlightened moderation. One particular myth involves the status of women in Muslim societies, one of inferiority and subjugation. Pakistan was once led by a woman, Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. Another woman shatters this myth. She is Dr. Shireen Mazari, Director General of the Institute of Strategic Studies in Islamabad. Dr. Mazari will speak to us on issues of defense and security, a subject she has written extensively about, and of women in Pakistan. She is also a regular columnist for the newspaper The News, and she hosts a weekly current affairs program on Pakistan television. She is author of the book The Kargil Conflict, Separating Fact from Fiction, and she received her PhD in political science from Columbia University in New York and honors from the London School of Economics and Political Science. Dr. Mazari, thank you for being with us today. Dr. Mazari, I would like to begin by asking you a general question about Pakistan's security situation vis-à-vis the continuing instability in Afghanistan and the growing potential for conflict in Iran, although there seems to be encouraging signs regarding relations with India.
Well, actually, there would be encouraging signs even in Afghanistan and Iran if the external powers that are now present would be following better policies. The major source for instability in Afghanistan is post-Taliban policy that was operationalized by the US. Initially, they began arming the warlords, giving them money as a means of stability in Afghanistan, despite the historical experience that this is not how things work and this is not how things will be stabilized. And that is exactly what happened. You had the resurgence of the poppy culture. You had the warlords creating little fiefdoms of their own, and the result was that the central government in Kabul really had no authority and still has no authority outside of central Kabul effectively. And that is why there is this growing instability. Then of course you have the resurgence of the Taliban, which has now become enmeshed with the resurgence of a type of Pashtun nationalism against the occupying powers, or at least what the Pashtuns see as foreign occupation forces. So it's not really just the Taliban, it's different diverse groups of Pashtuns getting together. And unfortunately, the effort by the US to fight this global war on terror purely by military means has proven to be totally ineffective, in fact counterproductive. Because what has happened in Afghanistan and in Iraq also is that more and more political and military space has been created for the terrorists because of a lack of success of the military efforts. You have to have a more holistic effort at fighting terrorism. You have to distinguish between the terrorists and the conservative or what you may call fundamentalist Islamic groups or people, because by nature Pashtun society is still a very conservative Sunni society. So it's very difficult to say who is a Taliban and who is not a Taliban amongst the Pashtuns. Just as it's very difficult to distinguish, for the Americans at least it seems to be, between Al-Qaeda and ordinary Pashtun Taliban who may or may not want to have a military war with the occupying forces. This is the other problem. The third problem for the instability in Afghanistan is that the NATO troops are insufficient. We have 80,000 troops now along our border with Afghanistan in Balochistan and the NWFP. The NATO troops are barely 43,000. That's not enough. And then of course you do not help matters when you start accusing Pakistan of not doing enough, despite the fact we feel we've done more than anybody else, of deliberately harboring the Taliban, which is also nonsensical, because more than in anyone else's interest, it's in our interest to have stability in Afghanistan. And one of the problems has been that Pakistan till now had a totally open border with Afghanistan, which is not what the other neighbors of Afghanistan have. So now we have taken a decision to fence the border, and that should have brought about appreciation from NATO and the Kabul government, but they don't want the fencing, which to me is inexplicable. If you are accusing us of allowing people to cross the border for conducting acts of terror, then you must allow us to stop that by fencing the border. So in Afghanistan, this is the problem. Vis-a-vis Iran, the Iran-US standoff is a source of major instability in the region. We feel that yes, Iran should subscribe to its commitments under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, but having said that, they have a right to develop peaceful nuclear energy, as other countries do. Japan has a very extensive peaceful nuclear program, including reprocessing and enrichment and so on. If Iran is prepared to do that, and it has said it does not want to leave the NPT, as North Korea did when it wanted to become weaponized, then we must give them the benefit of the doubt. They are prepared to have the IAEA come in. They are prepared to cooperate. The problem is that the Americans don't want to have a dialogue. They don't want to negotiate with Iran. They want to find pretexts for attacking Iran to bring about regime change. And that, unfortunately, is the main and prime source of instability vis-a-vis Iran. And I think that if the Americans are foolish enough to conduct a military operation, and it seems they may just do that because they've moved in a third aircraft carrier, the new head of CENTCOM is now a naval officer for the first time, not an army officer. So maybe they're thinking of some form of a naval attack or whatever. If that is the case, this whole area is going to erupt. For Pakistan, it will be very problematic, because then Pakistan, any Pakistani government will find it almost impossible to cooperate on the war on terror with the United States, because obviously we are a diverse Muslim society. We have a strong Shia population, which is in the minority, but it's part of the mainstream. And even the Sunnis here would not accept an American attack against Iran. So for us, that is a problem. And of course, for us, we have a very different approach to Iran. We see Iran as a brother Muslim state with which we have cultural links. We have a whole lot of other linkages, historical linkages. We want Iran to become more active in the mainstream of the region, not to be isolated. So there is a different pull for us from that of the United States. So that's a source of instability also, not only in the region but also in the Pakistan-US relationship. No.